What's up everyone, Beast like Bentley here, and welcome back to yet another episode of hopefully something useful. So good to have you here and to see all your smiling faces. Today is definitely a good day, folks. It's been raining cats and dogs here for several weeks, and Bentley has a lot of built up energy. Thankfully, the weather has held up just a little bit so we can get outside and run around in the park. Today we're going to be talking about why a Husky is not for you. There are a lot of things that people don't know about Huskies and definitely don't know what they're getting themselves into. So I'm here to educate you a little bit. And hopefully this helps when deciding to get a Husky as your new fluffy friend. Okay, the first reason why a Husky is not for you, they're very active. So if you're someone who's at work all the time or maybe has a very busy social life, who's always out and about doing things, running errands, and you can't bring your dog with you, then a Husky is definitely not for you. A Husky needs to be out running around, going on walks. They need to be playing with their owner all the time. If they don't get a chance to exercise and to expend some of their energy, then they're gonna get destructive. Which to them, this is just being playful and having a good time because they don't know what else to do. So they find something. Like for instance, if you have a tissue box sitting around the room, chances are they're gonna rip through that like crazy. They love tissue. Pretty sure this is a thing for all dogs. They just love tissue. It's the strangest thing. So this is why Huskies have a bad reputation of being destructive, because a lot of owners don't understand that Huskies just have a lot of energy in them and they need to be going out. If they're not, then they're gonna start biting things. They're gonna be ripping up your papers around the house, running with your shoes, biting holes through walls. I mean, whatever the case may be, this is why Huskies have a bad reputation. So you have to be aware of, you're gonna be getting your work in with when you have a Husky, all right? Number 2, hip dysplasia. These are 2 words that no dog owner wants to hear. Basically what hip dysplasia is, it's an abnormal formation of the hip socket, which can cause a lot of pain. So hip dysplasia is hereditary, but it can also be developed by improper nutrition, too much exercise, or too little of exercise. Now, when I say improper nutrition, what I mean by that is if you have a puppy, you shouldn't be giving your puppy adult dog food. What this will cause is your dog will grow too fast and won't develop the correct way, which will cause hip dysplasia. All right, another thing, too much exercise. So a lot of people think that just because Siberian Huskies are sled dogs, that they can go for very long runs or exercise all the time. So this is kind of a double-edged sword when we talk about hyperactive, getting your Husky out there running around, because at the same time you have to limit the amount of exercise you do give your Husky, because they're gonna wanna play pretty much all day long. Eventually they are gonna wear out, but you don't want them to jump around too much on their hind legs, and you don't want them to run long distances, because this can also further injure their hip. And chances are, if they do have hip dysplasia, you might not know it unless you know the signs that you're looking for. So by over exercising them, it can do more harm than good. Same thing goes with too little bit of exercise. Just like if we're lounging on the couch watching Netflix all day, eventually we're gonna get a little fluff, you know what I mean? So make sure that you are taking your Husky on some walks and making them run around. If you notice that it's hard for them to catch their breath, or maybe they're walking a little slow, or they look overweight, chances are they're not getting enough exercise. Number 3, shedding. There's a thing called blowing their coat twice a year, but shedding is continuous, I promise you. Rain or shine, 365, no matter what, there is going to be fur everywhere. In your car, in every corner of the room, in your food, everywhere. It's gonna be all over your clothes. You're gonna have to have a lint roller with you all the time. You're gonna have to have a robot vacuum. You're gonna have to sweep at least every other day. It's crazy. We've even noticed in our air conditioner that the filter got backed up because of all the fur that was flying up in there. And so things like that you have to maintain and whatnot, and you have to be aware of it. So shedding is definitely something that if you're not okay with, then a Husky is not for you. Now, there are a few things to minimize the fur. The first thing is a robot vacuum. Definitely invest in one of those. We run that thing every single day. Second, brushing. Brushing your Husky should never be neglected. You need to brush them at least once a day, every single day. This not only minimizes the fur that you're gonna have flying around your house, but it also helps spread their natural oils around their fur. That way when your friend touches your Husky, it's like, hey, your Husky's like really shiny and smooth feeling. Yeah, you're welcome. That's because I brush them all the time. All right, and then the third thing, well, there isn't a third thing. That's all you get. There's still gonna be fur, sorry. Attachment issues, number 4. Siberian Huskies absolutely hate being alone. That is why they're known for crying all the time. Funny fact, every single time I left the room to go downstairs to grab, some water or food, he would get up and then pee right at the door the moment I left. Even though his mom was sitting right next to him, he would be that sad that I left the room. Eventually he did grow out of this, thankfully, but this just shows that Huskies, they have a lot of love, and that also comes with attachment issues. So that's something you have to be aware of. Just like I said earlier, if you're someone who's at work all the time and just not there, they're gonna get really depressed. And yeah, depression in dogs is a thing, and it's definitely a thing in Siberian Huskies. So this is something you need to be aware of. If you're gone all the time, you go on vacation, stuff like that, you have to leave them in boarding, then chances are they're gonna have eating disorders where they're not gonna wanna eat and they'll get really skinny. So it's a sad thing, honestly, and you don't want that to be happening to your dog. And finally, Huskies are stubborn, like extremely stubborn. Have you ever had a cat where you call the cat, you're like, come here, Pete, or whatever the cat's name is, and they just look at you like you're crazy, and then they roll their eyes and turn around? Yeah, that's a Husky for you. But thankfully, Bentley is very food driven, which means that we can get him to do things with food. But again, this is also a bad thing because if we don't have food, then he doesn't do it. He just stares at us and then looks away. And honestly, guys, if we could choose all over again between him or a different dog, we would choose him hands down 1,000 times over. Well, guys, to wrap it up, do your research and choose wisely if you are deciding to get a Husky. They are a ton of work, but I promise you they are worth it. But like I said in the beginning, if you're someone who's always at work or have other obligations throughout the day, maybe a Husky is not for you. Like I said, it's not you, it's your Husky. Huskies are very needy, they have a lot of love, they have a lot of energy, and so if you're not there to provide that for them, then you might want to stick with the poodle.